Ticky, I like the idea of you and this cult and going back on the light rail and trying to find that guy that knew about Godzilla in Okinawa and the Japanese army and that shit. I think that you've got prime recruiting material right there. I think that you should explore that. I think that'd be great. That could be a service to humankind.
It truly would be.
You can share the special underwear with him. I'm sure it's more than one pair at that time by then.
Do you know which one of us is really cheap? Because I think it's got two thumbs and it's pointing at me right now.
I know. I try really hard not to harp on. Like here's how the opening joke for every single week goes for you guys. All right, here's how it goes. I assign something to Steve that is usually something to do with either nerd street cred, nerd knowledge, an inability to communicate with his wife, which he just demonstrated. For you, Ticky, every single fucking you communicate fine if you want all the lines to be blurred, which is 100% in your wheelhouse, and I love it. It's so fucking funny. But for Ticky, every single week, it's how can I tease him a little bit without being mean and without talking about him being cheap, because I feel like that's the sweet spot. It's got to be ridiculous enough so that it's not believable, because I don't want people actually believing the shit that I say about you guys. It's got to be ridiculous enough for that. I don't want it to actually ever hurt somebody's feelings, but it's got to be like at least a little bit in character. So I try really hard not to harp on the cheap thing.
So the thing was, it would have been an extra $250 for us to buy the 4-pack of underwear instead we bought the 3-pack. two are kept in reserve at all times, just in case something terrible goes wrong.
They are holy underwear. Did you freeze dry them?
They're holy underwear. They're made damp at first and then placed in the freezer. And then
is that so all of the new recruits get the tongue on the ice flag pole thing?
They know that this underwear stays with them.
Somebody get me some hot water. I'm stuck to it.
Stuck.
This is worse than the plastic chair. Oh, fuck me, I'm crying. That's Welcome to the Save vs. Poison podcast, the podcast dedicated to gaming, general geekery, and enduring sobriety in an ever maddening society, with your host Will and two guys that probably live under his stairs. If you're an addict, know an addict, or are just interested in exploring the outer mysteries of geekery, you're in the right place. Without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Save vs. Poison podcast. Yay! My name is Will. I'm your host. Recording this on a Tuesday again. See, I told you guys, we flip-flop back and forth between this Monday-Tuesday thing. I'm going to blame Labor Day. I'm going to blame unionization for all of the cramping that I'm going to have to do to get all of this episode edited in a timely fashion to release it to you, our starved for content masses that are so looking forward to hearing our quasi-brain-dead takes on everything that we quasi-brain-dead take on. Joining me tonight... Fuck, I gotta find the joke. Where'd it go? There it is. Joining me tonight, his brain is so filled with esoteric nerd knowledge that anything he learns these days pushes something out of his memory. His wife recently told him that their youngest son spelled his own name for the first time. He responded, "Oh, thanks. There goes Amazing Spider-Man issue 322. Are you happy with yourself?" He's our friend Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hey, guys. What's your names again?
Yeah.
Lost them.
Gone for fucking ever.
Gone forever.
He won't be here next week, folks, because, he'll have forgotten that he's on a podcast. Forgotten completely.
We joke, but my memory is terrible.
That's funny, though. Like, I really do think that if I said, hey, Amazing Spider-Man issue 322, you'd be like able to give me like an in-depth synopsis with whatever, whoever the artist and author were thinking at the time.
I'd
100%.
never be able to do that with Spider-Man.
Never with Spider-Man.
But if you needed to know, like,
know,
all the, Transformer names from a particular Micromaster team from 1986, I could tell you.
wow, that is exciting, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Test him. See where the boundaries lie. All right, you see him at work, you make sure you approach him. Don't try to high five him. He hates that. but esoteric Transformers knowledge. He's all in for it. Also joining us tonight, recently in an effort to spice up his sex life, he started insisting that girlfriends call his penis Boba Fett. He met his match when a girl he'd been seeing shouted mid-coitus, "Get in my Sarlacc pit." Not even Viagra could get Mr. Fett back to fighting condition. He's our friend Ticky.
Hey, how you doing? Can't believe anyone would call her cooter.
Sarlacc pit. I know. But maybe she wanted to keep it there. Maybe she just was like feeling really possessive.
It's just got to be stuck in. It'll have to be stuck in there for a couple of weeks so you can get it. Yeah, I know. There's nothing good about that actually.
Nothing at all. But I like that she tried to engage.
Yeah, there is that.
I like that. That shows a little bit of effort, it's not great. It's dick shrinking effort.
Couldn't just dress like bikini clad, Princess Leia.
Nope, couldn't do that. It was like a pair of really cold freezer underwear.
It's okay. It's not like I called my penis the space worm from that asteroid. I mean, sure, it's huge, but it's a fucking giant space worm.
Yeah, it's a giant.
Also,
it'd be kind of cool if it could talk.
Space worm from that asteroid.
I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember what they were called.
I don't remember what they were called.
But they're ever even given names.
When Ticky's penis came out of the asteroid and tried to eat the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, like there was one like it's Jerry.
Jerry,
I was going to the spaceship, Jerry. Like, I don't know if it's going to work like that.
No, we clearly said that Jerry was Greek.
Oh, that's right. He is
We
Greek.
Clearly said that, all right? You can't just be popping off with the name Jerry and then calling him a space worm that came out of that. Call him Tom.
Can't call him Thomas because that's, a tank engine.
You don't it's not like Little Ticky, it's the space worm that came out of that asteroid.
Space worm that came out of the asteroid.
I could honestly, I think that would be a great thing to like, if you're like trying to judge what a woman's idea of like whether she's a Star Wars lover or not, if that's like important to you, you could be like, yeah, I call it my space worm that came out of the out of the asteroid, and she's like, well, just call my clitoris the Millennium Falcon then. I like that very much. You will have met your match, my friend.
Yeah, I mean,
your match.
It's just the Millennium Falcon really only does anything good in the first movie and the third movie, and the whole second movie doesn't even work.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not the best metaphor there.
I kind of like that's just us having the Millennium Falcon having the wet Tuesdays. All right, that's all that is. All right, that happens sometimes. All right, and
should just be R2D2. It's a little dome on top, tiny little thing.
It's got to have a goldenrod to activate it.
Yeah, it makes noises like.
I don't know where we are anymore. I think that we're talking about dildos and masturbation and vibrators, and I think R2D2 is a butt plug at this point, but I can't tell.
This is on you.
This is on me. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Hey guys, how's it going? Steve, you first.
It's going good.
It's going good, he says.
Fantastic.
All right, good. So you saw something on the internet and then shared it on the Discord server. What was that? What was that you shared with us?
I discovered blue Kool-Aid hot dogs. And I don't understand why anyone would do this. I love hot dogs. Hot dogs are fantastic. They're one of my favorite things. I had a healthy dinner the other night, and all I really wanted was a damn hot dog.
Ticky actually just muted himself to go, me too, brother.
But blue Kool-Aid hot dogs, like, why would any human do this?
Yeah, I didn't understand it either. I saw it. I acknowledged it, and I tried to Marie Kondo it, where I was like, "Thank you," and tried to let it go, but you brought it back, unfortunately, and like that. Apparently, that's it's like an internet bad penny. I'm not happy about it.
So this is like back in the day when they had like the Inquisition, and they were like, "She's a witch," and you're like, "What proof do you have?" And they would just like really just get worked up and angry. But this one, blue hot dog,
Blue hot dog,
burn that place to the ground.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it immediately made me think of like Kool-Aid Pickles, which was also terrible. Did you remember Kool-Aid Pickles?
No, I do not remember Kool-Aid Pickles.
It was like 5 years ago. It was like a thing.
At no point is that a good idea.
I mean,
they were terrible. Someone brought them in. Someone brought them in because we had been talking about how strange of a concept this was, and then someone was like, "I'm gonna make some," and they did this. They brought it into work, and because of me, I felt the need to try.
I mean, you do have an adventurous spirit, and I appreciate that about you.
I just really need to know what most things taste like, apparently. This was not a wise choice. It was a terrible choice.
Awful choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I hate sweet pickles to begin with, you know?
I use sweet relish in my tuna salad, and that's about it.
Yeah, no.
That's about it. You're okay. Calm down.
No, it's...
Why wouldn't you... Were they trying to make sweet pickles?
Yeah, it was like I said, it was like a thing from like 5 years ago.
I've never heard of that.
I guess here's what I don't understand. If you know that it's going to taste bad, if you can like anticipate, like this was clearly a bad idea up front.
It was a bad choice.
Why didn't you just go with like food coloring?
Like what flavor Kool-Aid?
Because there's always that possibility that maybe it was going to be okay. You're like, oh, you know what?
No. This is the same sort of adventurous spirit that Galileo had when he was like, you know what, we'll just stick two planks together and then set out for, quote unquote, the new world, and I'm sure everything will go well.
I don't think any of that was accurate.
Galileo?
Shut up.
What?
Shut up. He was an explorer. He did things. The new world.
No, he lived in Italy his entire life.
Nothing about what you said about Kool-Aid Pickle was on sides, so everything that I said about history was also completely off sides, all right? I did that literally on purpose.
Right.
It was literally done on purpose. You sons of bitches. Yeah, I like pickles. I often sing a song to my wife about my pickle. But
is that what you call it? You call it a pickle, not a worm?
I don't call it. No, that's trademark Ticky. That's 100% that guy. All right, I don't do that.
What?
Yeah, the space worm thing. That's yours, buddy. That's all yours.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about with that is that it should actually be an asteroid on the front of your underwear where the flap is.
Oh yeah.
So that so it just spills out. Yeah.
Oh, spills out. wait. Spills out.
Yeah.
I tipped my underwear over and gravity did the rest.
There is a lot about underwear tonight, isn't there?
There is. I'm good with it.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
Now you're gonna have to talk about frozen underwear.
No, I think that's gonna be that will have been the pre-ramble joke.
Cold asteroid in space, like frozen underwear.
You backed me into a fucking corner, you savage. You fucking savage.
It's your fault. You said everything's offsides.
That's true. Everything is offsides.
So so the big white worm. And then you were talking about pickles.
I was talking about having a song that I sing to my wife about my pickle, but that's about it. How are you, Ticky? How are things?
So far, so good.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Yeah, things keep coming up Millhouse for me. I just still stressing out about work life stuff, riding my motorcycle when I can, and in general just kind of chilling. Kind of sort of dating this lady. She I don't know, she seems to like me, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Trying as hard as guys like us can to not ruin it.
I keep on like talking about the asteroid on my underwear, and she's just not into it. So no, things are good. This is actually really fun. Like hopping on and like having like the really bizarre conversations and blue hot dogs.
It's really weird
Steve.
calisthenics for your sense of humor and brain.
It's a really weird thing. Like you're just like, yeah, blue hot dogs, blue pickles. Yeah, fucking Kool-Aid. Sure,
Hey,
why
hey.
not?
In fairness, the pickles were red.
I'm still okay. I'm still not. I'm still okay. Look,
Makes
I'm
it
still.
worse.
I'm
It
puzzled.
didn't make it better.
I'm puzzled. Why do we have to use Kool-Aid? Why not just use food coloring? And then you're like, these are kind of neat and new and bizarre. Ha ha ha. But
People are
no.
weird, man. They want
I
to
don't
like.
know, I don't
Why
know.
did they make blue hot dogs?
Why do you want to eat a giraffe? I
Maybe-
guess there's a lot of questions we don't have answers to.
Well, I
Ticky,
want to eat
maybe
a
they-
giraffe because I want to know what they taste like. I
And that's
assume
why
that they
they
taste
made.
tall.
That's why how is tall a flavor? Fuck.
I don't know. I'll find out when I
was
eat
gonna tell a
one.
different. I was gonna tell a different joke, and then you psyops me into asking what the fuck tall tastes like.
I was wondering about that too. It's like, I wonder what tall would taste like.
What does that taste like? All
Something-
right.
You wouldn't say gamey. It's very gamey. Like, why is it gamey? I don't know. It's very
Eating into
tall.
this tastes really tall.
It tastes very tall.
Very interesting. God, that's very. All right. So yeah. Okay. Speaking of things that are offsides, my name's Will, and I'm an alcoholic.
I also use words good. My name is Ticky, also alcoholic.
Also am alcohol man.
Also am.
Steve, not alcoholic, but very curious about what tall tastes like now. Hadn't thought about it before, but now I want to know.
Now it's in there. Wait, no, it was in there before. It just.
I mean, it was rattling around.
you just
somewhere.
hadn't.
I mean,
You
it's
just hadn't like said it out
had
loud.
verbalized it. Yeah, it was one of those like. It was more emotional, you know. And
No, I
then-
get it.
Then
Hadn't-
you started asking a lot of questions about pickles, and we got to
It's,
do giraffes taste tall?
it's not fair for you to say that we asked a lot of like questions about pickles because they were.
Well, I didn't ask the questions about
You
the pickles.
didn't, but you definitely
True,
brought
that's
like
actually-
that's like
No, he
that's like
didn't.
starting
You-
talking about politics at Thanksgiving
Hey.
dinner. You just don't
No,
do it.
wait.
I'm just
To
asking
be fair,
questions here, okay?
to be honest, Steve actually psyops to you like days ago
I know
about that with that
The blue
link.
hot dog, yeah.
The blue hot
The
dog.
blue hot dog did. Yeah,
That's
you're
led us
right.
here at this point. So this is something Steve
Yeah.
set up days ago.
Fuck, you're getting better at this. You're more subtle with your blue hot dog.
The blue hot dog. It's terrible, right? Like that video is awful.
It's
the
not-
color on those hot dogs are incredibly disturbing.
That color is found in nature, but only as like reference for like Bob Ross paintings. Like it shouldn't be a food stuff,
I mean, blue raspberry.
especially not a meat food stuff.
Yeah, it shouldn't be meat. Meat should not be
Meat
that
should not be blue.
neon blue. like
Ugh.
like for those of you who have not seen it listening, it's the blue hot dog was like the color of like that blue Gatorade, like really blue.
It's like blue LED, like a blue LED light. Like
So
you know the headlights of those
Not
obnoxious
okay.
cars at night? That's kind of the blue it was.
So it's kind of like it's kind of like hot dogs that were raised on the planet Arrakis, the desert planet Dune.
Did you just call
Yeah.
it Arrakis?
Yeah,
No,
Arrakis.
he said
Oh, okay. You
Arrakis.
said Arrakis. I
Yeah.
thought you said
No, no, no.
Arrakis. I'm like,
So
is
they've
that a
got
callback?
they have spice in them, like from the sandworm poop, spice.
Spice. I mean, they
Turns
were made
size,
with
it
Kool-Aid, I
turns
guess,
turns
so
things blue.
Fuck,
Is
turns
Kool-Aid
things
just
blue.
spice?
It's a science fiction. It works, okay. The reference works. Just
Just roll with it.
go.
Ladies and gentlemen
eat-
out in the
eat it.
audience, please call in and let us know whether or not the reference works. I have a theory. I have a prediction on this
They're
one.
blue, just like the people's eyes on the desert planet Dune.
There we go.
Oh,
I
There
wonder
we
if they were sweet too, the hot dogs.
Stop. I can't anymore. I can't anymore.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna fucking eat them.
Red pickles, blue hot dog. I'm done.
is
All
the
the colors of
worst-
the rainbow are now
Tall
disgusting
giraffe.
to me.
All the fucking like every kind of and it'll be a blue hot dog, a red pickle,
It's like the worst
what
version
was
of
it?
Lucky Charms.
a totally white giraffe,
When-
and you're like, it's like some sort of weird Lucky Charms thing that Steve's made up. I'm
So
like,
when
really?
when this thing takes off, I want this to be my shirt. I want it to say, red pickle, blue hot dog, Tall giraffe. That's my T-shirt.
That'll
That's
be
what
your
I want.
T-shirt. Yeah.
That'll be your giraffe. Both sides of an octopus.
That'll be the answer.
It'll be,
It'll be like a
answer.
math equation.
That's
It'll be like
Perfectly, just
Wait,
like
wait.
Thanos wanted, perfectly balanced in all things.
This is if Steve was the bad guy in Saw, and they were like, in order to get out of here, just tell me what is the
What's the
front
front
of
of
this
an
octopus? People were like,
no,
son
I
of a
need to
bitch!
know.
Sick traps going off like crazy, everybody dying. Oh, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. That'd be the worst. Nobody can win this game.
I wonder if people think we go off on tangents too much.
I wonder if people think that we're on drugs.
I'm fairly certain people think that about me.
It's possible. It's possible.
I'm not. For the
All right,
record.
so
Okay, so
the alcoholism thing, yeah, let's get back on that.
Refocus.
Back on topics of conversation of the day.
The reason we're here.
The condos, got it.
Yeah, the condos. That was a joke that nobody else will get, buddy. Nobody else.
That's
will
okay.
Get. Okay,
That's
that was
okay.
just for us.
Not everything is. For
I said
everyone.
convos, and it auto-corrected to condos.
I thought you
Okay.
misspelled
You don't have to
condors.
explain it. You
I
don't
thought
have
you-
to explain it.
It
I
was-
feel
thought-
like the poor audience, which is dwindling now.
The super fans will forgive us. Okay.
Yes,
I honestly
he
thought you were
will.
talking. I thought you said condors, and I was like, "Well, Bill said he certainly misspelled the word condors."
Yep,
I don't know
sure
why he
did.
did that.
So, all right. I have nothing to report on my alcoholism front. No, I had a couple cravings this week, but they're mostly to do with the fact that this is the best time to love beer if you love the types of beer that I love, which were always the heavy Germanic style, tastes like a loaf of bread type of beers.
Yep,
And they're
Bavarian.
fucking everywhere, and they're so delicious, and I miss them so much. But
Mm.
it's that at the grocery store, walking by the beer section, which I normally don't pay too much attention to anymore, but when they start moving the displays around a little bit and you find like the beer is near the cereal instead of being over by the meats and cheeses, and you're like, oh, I got to get myself some more oatmeal, and my kids need Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and oh, Prost Brewing? Fuck, I used to love that. That's perfectly well positioned here in the cereal aisle because it tastes like fucking delicious cereals. And then walking past it and thinking to yourself, oh, the times you and I have had, and then the next days that you and I have had, and how never the tween shall meet again.
Yeah,
That's it. That was really
Yeah.
the extent of everything.
This
Ticky, how are you?
is a well. I mean, I went to Oktoberfest in Germany in Munich.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got stories from it, and I remember how much fun it was. There's a lot of nostalgia, like very happy nostalgia attached to that.
Yeah.
So I absolutely hear you on that. I haven't really been having those kind of thoughts because I hadn't really thought about like Oktoberfest yet.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Yep, there you go. And then it's for me I keep on what I do is I'm walking along and I'll see like a beer or some type of beer, like it'll be like Hacker Sakura, something that's like really kind of not common in the States.
Mhm.
And I go, hey, it's really hard to get, man. They're carrying that here now.
Yeah.
It'd be a pretty sweet deal to get that. And I think it'd be like a good deal. It's like what I
Yeah.
put in my head. But then I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna keep on walking along. And I don't usually actually go down that beer aisle that often either. I just I'm with you. I don't need to go down that bit of nostalgia.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't had any real. I think with, like you, I've had a couple of like temptations here and there, but that's
Mhm.
about it. I have been talking a bit more openly about when I used to drink, which is kind of funky to like actually have those conversations about like. I mean, it's not because I'm going to drink now. It's just because there's so many stories of like, and then I did dumb thing X.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this story is hilarious because I did dumb thing X 3 times.
And now can look back on it as like something that's humorous, but also a cautionary tale at the same time.
No, yeah, they all become cautionary tales
Yeah.
now, but it's just really goofy now. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. I remember being at Oktoberfest and like now it's like people are like, would you like to go to Germany at some point in the future? And I'm like, well, I mean, Not
Maybe
right
not in
now.
September. Yeah.
Like, maybe it's some other. Maybe February, like a shitty time for weather.
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll go. But not right now. And I kind of like I have that feeling about like some of the different places I've been. I have a lot of attachment because of that stuff.
Sure. That makes total sense, man. It makes
Yeah, I'm
total sense.
doing all right otherwise.
Cool, man. Cool. Steve, you got anything to share?
No, I'm good. Things are okay.
Yeah. Stressors are all right in your life right now?
I mean, I'm stressed as usual.
Okay.
No, I don't get stressed.
Well, I didn't dovetail particularly gracefully into the alcoholism check-in portion of the evening, but this does dovetail very nicely into the next section of our conversation. So, one of the things that came across my desk just recently was the hospital that I have been working at sort of on again, off again, part-time-ish as a contractor. They're thinking of creating a specific role that I would be able to fill. And they've reached out to me to ask me if I'd be interested. And, my freedom and the ability to be the stay-at-home have been very important to me. But I also have, there's a lot of grown-up adult decisions that come along with being offered a decent chunk of potential income. That is, like I've said, by myself, I make a very, very, very lower middle class income by myself. If my wife wasn't working, we could not afford this house. There's the payment on the house itself is more than what I'm making on a monthly basis is basically how that shakes out. So having this extra income potential is really a very grown-up decision to make, to go with yes to that. But with that comes a whole lot of stressors. One, I'm worried about my fitness. Right now I spend about between 9 and 11 hours in the gym every week, and that's on an every other day basis. So that would be more difficult to do if I had to be in the operating room for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. That would be really rough. So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about my mental state, what it would look like to go back into the operating room doing cases that I'm not super keen on doing. I'm going into it recognizing that I am trading my time for a specific amount of money that I know that I'm going to be paid. And that was a big problem that I had with what I was doing full time in the last couple of years. Was I just wasn't getting paid for it. I would work, 10 procedures and get paid for 2 of them. There's not a lot of people that want to do work for free. I'm one of those people. I don't want to do work all the time for free. So I have a lot of stress that's mounting and coming up in my life right now. And one of the early warning signs of possible relapse is becoming stressed and not having tools to deal with it. Being stressed is something that we really, really can't avoid. But it is something that we can create some tools for, or incorporate some tools for dealing with that stress in a healthy way, so that when it comes time for us to make the decision, should I drink tonight, should I not drink tonight? Well, I'm really stressed. Maybe I will, and that'll make it better, but it really won't. Having a tool or having an activity or having a plan about what to do when you get stressed, I think, is going to be really important. So I need to start coming up with that in the here and now, so that when I get to that point where I am back in the operating room, where I am in that higher stress situation, I can have a plan of action for how to deal with that. Now, you guys all both work full time. I know that right now, Ticky, you said that you're between stuff, but you're wanting to be full time employed. That's part of your thing, right?
Yeah. I have that Protestant work ethic. You got to work yourself to death. That's
the
right way to.
I hope it's not that bad, but damn, son.
That is the right way to live your life. Work yourself to death. Never enjoy yourself.
Right.
According to my dad, at least, that's what you're supposed to do.
Ugh. That sounds very familiar from my parentage as well.
Yeah.
But you have talked openly and freely about the fact that your big stressor or stress reliever is going for rides on the bike. You've got the bike to go and do that. Now, have you set that aside as something that you know it helps you clear your head, relieve some of your stress? Is that something that you use specifically for that, in addition to just the pure enjoyment of riding?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I use it. I have I don't want to say I have like epiphanies, but like I'll ride and I'll think a lot about my current situation, and I'm really just kind of blowing off steam as I ride, listening to music, and then I don't know. I have like a whole lot going on, and somehow that kind of creates this zen for me, where like I have to focus and concentrate on my writing, but I'm also listening to music, but I'm also thinking about my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also trying to plan out other things, and going over all of that somehow creates like this moment where like I have that no thought kind of, and it's really cool. I like it. It's and it's just it's really relieving, and it's really fun. But yeah, I haven't set it aside. No, I'm never going to set that aside.
Right. I didn't think you would. No, absolutely not. But I meant just like that's the mindset that you want to get in while you're riding, is to that place where you're relieving your stress. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Steve, what do you have for that? Because you're a stressed dude too.
No, I'm not.
From time to time.
Dude.
From time to, I mean, you have stressors in
I
your
have
life.
stress.
Like,
No,
I don't think.
I joke.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. That was a mischaracterization.
I'm playing.
You're not
I'm
a
playing.
stressed dude. You have stressors in your life. So, what do you use to mitigate that? Because you've got a really fucking full schedule.
Lots and lots of porn. No.
White worms and blue hot dogs.
Wait, what? White worms?
White worms, man.
No.
Coming out of asteroids.
Space worms.
It's a sexy space worm.
So I try to, decompress wherever I can. That used to be video games. I admittedly haven't had as much time for that.
Right.
Lately, to be honest, like it's sort of a silly, dumb thing. I mean, I've talked about it before, but vegging out to watching wrestling, it is so mindless and stupid.
Right.
That I can just kind of like I don't even have to pay that close of attention to it, to be perfectly honest.
Sure.
And so that's been kind of one of my like refuges. One of the other things that for me, I realized a while back, one of the reasons I love Transformers, and I still collect them. They're little puzzles. That's all they are.
Oh, sure. They're like fidget spinners from the 80s. Oh my god.
Basically,
fuck, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and so I'll sit there watching, TV. Usually after I put the kiddos to bed, and it's wife tends to go to bed early, and so it's just me watching, wrestling or just whatever dumb thing. I'm really really into Forged in Fire. I love that show. It's ridiculous. At any rate, but yeah, I'll sit there with a Transformer and I will just flip it back and forth a few times.
Have you seen the episode with my buddy in it yet? You don't even remember.
I do remember that, but I don't remember what your buddy's name was. So
Guy
here's the thing.
Harris. He's passed away since. But yeah, go ahead. Talk about your. No, don't mean.
I've definitely seen it. I just don't know that I've seen it because I've missed one.
I'm gonna look up that episode now, and I'm gonna.
Everybody should go watch that episode right now.
Nobody knows what episode that is because I'm the only. Shush. So. No, that's actually a really good point. The Transformers. I was one of the things I was doing a little while back was I bought a really simple. You can get it off of Amazon, but a lockpick set, and they'll include a practice lock for you, so you can see through the lock.
I could see that being incredibly relaxing.
It is, yeah. You're sitting there trying to pick each lock as you go, and you're just and I have a series of padlocks that get increasingly more difficult for me. So I used to just watch shows and pick locks.
Gotcha.
Was the show How to Catch a Thief?
No, but I have seen that show, and actually the first 2 seasons were really good.
Was it How to Get Away with Murder?
No, that's a terrible show.
What about Prison Break?
I have not watched that show either because it seems. How do you have okay, we broke out of prison, and the next season you're we're back in prison. You're how are you doing this? You're terrible at breaking out of prison.
I always wondered.
Terrible
I never watched
staying out of prison. You think that staying out of prison would be easier than breaking out of prison, right?
It's not called staying out of prison. It's called Prison Break.
Well, maybe it should be.
Maybe like prison staying out of
Did
prison.
they
And you like, and we
They
all went
broke
out and
out,
got
then they had to
jobs.
break
Yeah.
back in, and then they broke out again.
Yeah, we all had to go out and get regular jobs and like pay taxes.
I'm going back to prison. Damn the sodomy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there that is.
There that
so
is.
yeah, I have a few things that I do, but I also find that some of the things that I've tried to set aside as stress relievers are often stress causers. So I'm not a good enough miniature painter to be able to A to Z a model without having a couple of little like screw ups along the way, and that can be a little bit frustrating. And I find that if I'm in a really stressed state, I don't do that activity as much as I want to. Although lately I've been able to get some stuff done, which I've been really proud of. And then there are a couple of videos like I can't play Hunt if I'm stressed. I cannot do it.
No, that's the opposite of de-stressing.
Oh
Just
my
playing
god, it's so like edge of the seat. Like we started playing Destiny 2, and anybody that listens to the podcast is welcome to join us on Destiny 2. It's cross-play. It's all you got to do is just hop into the Discord server with us, and you can find links to the Discord server on. Should be able to find them on the Facebook and on the Twitter and our link tree and all that blah blah blah. But I can't play Hunt when I'm stressed. It's too fucking much. It's such a, like, when you're winning, it's such an adrenaline rush, but when you're losing, there is no thing that I can think of that I do with my computer that is that frustrating, except for when I used to get whiskey dick while masturbating. Like, that's it. That's like, why won't you work?
Yeah.
Why won't you, like, I say those
Yeah.
same words to Hunt or to the penis. Either one. To the old space worm. Yeah.
That's Hunt right there.
That's
The
fucking
old
Hunt
space
right there. The old space worm. So I'm going to have to come up with a couple of really kind of dedicated things. I think that I will try to start incorporating my working out as a de-stressor. I think I'm going to try to make that a part of it, because there is something kind of cathartic to getting to the gym and moving a lot of weight around and being able to make really ridiculous grunting noises and stupid faces and have everybody like if I make those grunting noises and those faces at the produce section at King Soopers, I'm gonna get different looks. I'm gonna get, why is that guy holding that cucumber like that? Why is he trying to shove that big gigantic packet of Kool-Aid into that jar of pickles? I don't understand what's happening right now.
I just tell a tangent story here.
Yes.
God, no.
Yes, of
No,
course,
no,
Steve.
I have
Go
to.
100%. Go ahead.
When I first moved out, a very good friend of mine was my first roommate, and he got super into like bodybuilding and stuff. And so he'd be out there, like he had his weight bench in the living room, and he'd be out there. Like me and my girlfriend would be like in my room trying to watch TV or whatever, and we would just hear.
Yeah. See, if I do that at the gym, if I'm doing it at the gym though, everybody looks over at me and they see me with like, doing like 50-pound curls, and they're like, "Oh, you look at that man." Either that, or they're taking pity on me because they think I've shat myself.
They're all looking at you, being like, "Dude, you don't have to make that much noise."
Yeah, you're trying way too hard.
Totally.
100%. Listen, I will assign. I will project onto them what I think they're thinking, because otherwise it'll break my heart.
It's just all you're doing is speaking the language of the gym rat.
That's
really what that is. I really wouldn't be thinking. I wouldn't overanalyze that. A lot of them are probably looking at you and probably thinking, "Yes, I understood what he just said," and gym rat grunt.
So if I'm the only gym rat there, though, am I just talking to myself? That's all it is, right?
Yeah, it's not. Dude, this is not the riddle of the tree in the forest.
Yeah.
It's just talking like a gym rat. That's it.
Most everybody else that's there is like an old retiree that's just trying to keep active, which I think is great. Like they're barely ever on the free weights, which is fantastic for me because I can just move through my routine really quickly. But yeah. There's a lot of ridiculous faces.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Gym rat lingo is it's a It's a bit of a modern language. It's just grunts and groans and
Yeah.
like it's sounds that people make when they're constipated, but it somehow translates. And you know what? Honestly, some people are probably looking at you going, "That guy needs more fiber."
I definitely need more fiber.
That's what your grunt is telling us.
Yeah, the gym's not the only place I make those grunting noises.
You should have some prune juice in your smoothie.
No, I'm not making prune juice protein shakes. I'm not doing that. I won't do that to my tongue. It's my best relationship, my tongue and I.
Gotta be careful if you're licking frozen underwear, son.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, tastes like a downy fudgicle. Yeah,
You'll get
gross.
stuck. You'll get stuck if you lick frozen
Downy
underwear.
fudgicle.
Downy fudgicle.
Gross.
That one was a slow burn. I like that
was.
one.
I didn't catch that at first.
Yeah,
That's
so-
good. It's good.
So yeah, that's what I got for the de-stressor thing. Like having a plan, making sure that you've got something that you're using specifically for taking care of that stress, and then talking to somebody about the things that are stressing you out in a constructive manner, or at least in a venting manner that doesn't make them the object of the vent. Like, being able to talking to a therapist is a really big one. One of the things that I'm excited about is I'll be, if I take this, I'll get back on Kaiser Insurance, which means I'll be able to have access to the same therapist that I was working with a while ago, and I got along really well with him. And I'm actually, there's a big part of me that's like, you know what, maybe that and the paycheck are enough to be able to say, you know what, this is a really, really good idea. So yeah. That's what I got for our sobriety chat portion of things. For a nice gaming topic of conversation, since we're playing Destiny 2 on the Discord stuff, one of the things that I find interesting about this game is that it is a game that puts out a lot of content on not only a regular basis throughout the year, but also on basically a yearly basis. They throw out a large content expansion. And this is all, all of these expansions, these bigger things are all, you have to pay for them, and you can pay for season passes to get access to a slightly better tier of the game. But for the most part, it's free to play. I've always really enjoyed the gunplay and the lore. I actually sat through a 2.5 hour video, not sat through, I worked out while I was listening to it, but it was a 2.5 hour video on just the lore of Destiny. And for something that only came out a little while ago, it was rich and packed with really interesting characters, and I really enjoyed listening to it. And now that I'm playing it again, there's been like 5 or 6 expansions that I've missed. So I started playing it at release with Steve a little bit, and then we kind of drifted apart a little bit as far as playing video games. His schedule got busier with the kids and other distractions. My kids are old enough now to play video games, and since we were playing primarily on the PS4 and they have control of the PS4, I can't wrestle it away from them. Damn it. So the question that I have now is, they have all of this older content that they have vaulted. It's all been put away. You can't play a lot of that older style content. And I found that to be a little bit frustrating. It would have been really, really fun for me to go back and be able to play some of the older stuff to catch me up on the storyline in game without having to watch some other form of media. So the question that I had was, should older games that are constantly updating, should they vault, update, or leave their older content be so that people can continue to play it as it was when it was first imagined? What do you guys think? Steve, you first.
I think the answer is yes. I kind of think it's a little bit of all of them. I'm perfectly happy that they vault stuff from time to time. I like the feel of it when it goes away for a while, because then you get a chance to miss it, and eventually they do tend to unvault things. I've been off of Destiny for a while, so you'd have to tell me. I know, did they vault Venus, or they vaulted some of the worlds? I know they did. Like, you just can't go to them So, as you were saying, certain portions of the uh, quote unquote vanilla story are locked right now.
Yeah. So the original storyline was for Destiny 2 was you are one of the guardians that you were before, and you start into this scenario called the Red War, where this warlord shows up and takes your powers, and then you have to fight back against him while doing so without any of your abilities, and that's this whole thing. That's all gone. That's not a part of the game anymore. That's part of the history of the game, but it's not part of anything that you do now. Now, just like with the first game, you pop up in that Russian area and then go through basically the same first area of the game from Destiny 1 in Destiny 2, and then you launch into the first couple of missions of whatever the newest storyline is. So you basically jump from Destiny 1's opening all the way to the newest expansion, which is like, I think 9 expansions deep. Like, I think that's how far the storyline has come. And I think that there's something novel and interesting about the fact that you don't have to play through the history of it to get to now. Because, if the game world is ever evolving, you want to wake up into the evolved world, but you also want to be able to have the catalog of back stuff so that you can go back and play it, especially if you're somebody that has nostalgia bug, right?
Yeah, I guess that part's definitely kind of a bummer, not being able to go back and play that old stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, for a game that is ever evolving, I'm okay with it in that context, anyways.
Gotcha.
If it was I'm trying to think of an example here. It just, I don't know. Like, I can't think of a good example of a game that wasn't constantly, like I said, putting out new stuff. Then yeah, of course I want to be able to go and play the old things.
Well, all right. So think about it like this. Think about it in terms of what if Nintendo stopped allowing anybody to play Super Mario Brothers when Super Mario Brothers 3 came out?
I mean, but didn't they kind of do that? I
No,
mean, for
they
a while.
they re-release. Okay, all right, sure, yeah.
They do, but for a little bit though, that was sort of the case in the sense that, like, if you didn't have the old machine, you couldn't play the games. Now, obviously, they have like the virtual consoles and stuff like that. You can go back. They've done things to change that, but with a lot of games out there, right? That is the case. It came out on X system. You played it, and once that system was obsolete, they stopped doing anything for it. Like, I can't go out and buy, Super Mario for the Nintendo, for the original NES anymore. It for all intents and purposes, it was vaulted. Again, they've sort of changed that.
I keep thinking of it like the Disney Vault, like they would like re-release
so do I. So
like,
the
Little Mermaid like every 10 years.
So at least in that regard, I'm okay with the multi things. But that kind of brought to your other question. I don't know that you said it at the beginning of
I didn't say it at the beginning. I actually wanted to get Ticky's take on if I was going to try to get. So Ticky's never played this game before, I don't think. Did you ever? You never played Destiny, right?
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way through.
All the way through. Okay, so you played the first one all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I know a lot about
you're
the
familiar
original.
with it. Great. That's perfect. With Destiny 2, do you think that what I've described would be something that you'd be interested in getting involved in?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I thought that Destiny had the core concept behind Destiny had such great potential that and Bungie just dropped the ball on it so bad. It makes it difficult for me to want to reinvest in that property or that storyline because of how poorly handled things were before.
Okay. If I said to you that things like the shooting mechanics are still just as good as they've ever been, because that was one of the
those were fine. The only thing the main thing that I think for me and a lot of other people was the story and then probably a bit of the pacing
Okay.
were two major problems within the game. Like, you can run through all of Destiny in like not even a weekend, and yet, but if I play like the original Halo on say hard, it's gonna take me the entire weekend, if not longer, to get all the way through that storyline,
Hmm.
let alone any of the multiplayer stuff.
Gotcha. So you were never down for like the grinding towards end game with doing like the big gigantic raids, or had they
Yeah,
introduced
yeah.
the raids?
No, the raids were introduced right around the time that
Okay.
I went through all of them, and it was cool and all. It didn't do as much for me as you know
Okay.
it just really didn't. And like I said, I wanted the story to be so much better and so much more fleshed out, and I didn't want there to be such an abrupt ending to it
Gotcha.
without some sort of payoff for a later arc. And it really just kind of like we like got to a point, and then boom, that was that, and it was like, oh,
I would argue that the payoff came eventually,
oh yeah,
um,
it definitely did eventually. It's just
but just not with the core stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I think we sat around for like almost a year waiting for
Oh,
something, and then
they
wondering
kept.
why.
Yeah, it was.
And the story
They
was so
they
messed up.
totally chopped it up in a sense and gave it to you piecemeal so that they could charge you, $60 more
No, that
when this
doesn't sound
expansion
like
came
something
out.
a game company would do.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like there's an ethical way to do that because I don't mind. So one of the I don't think he listens to the show at all. He might, but one of the members of the community, a guy named Kopatha, who was actually super instrumental in helping get viewers to the Twitch stream and is a constant fixture in Friday Night Hunts. He has this really kind of bare bones idea about exactly what it is that he needs from a game, and that is for every dollar he spends, he wants to get at least 1 hour of content out of.
Hmm.
And I kind of tend to agree with that. If I'm going to spend, like, if there's a $60 initial buy-in for a game and I can get 60 hours worth of playtime, and usually for these bigger in-depth games, I get way more than that. But then if once a year they come out with a 40-hour or $40 sort of reinvestment into the next section of the game, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I'm somebody that played World of Warcraft and EverQuest to the tune of $15 a month, and I'll tell you right now, if $1 per hour was the litmus, I mean, they should, like, at the end of it, they were paying me, like, in terms of how much value I
Yeah,
got out of it.
I think that's a good metric. I think the other one for me is I don't mind if a game has like if the story arc has additional pieces to it. You're reminding you like the Witcher, right? The story
Yeah,
continues to build on itself, and that's why you buy it. You buy the next game. You buy the next game. The content has always been really great, but the story's just excellent.
yeah, yeah.
And I look at it that way because right now I'm staring at my Jim Butcher novels, right,
Oh,
for
sure, yeah.
the Dresden Files. Each new one that comes out adds to that story, and I'm okay buying the next book, and I'm not against buying another, say, version of the game if there's a new story. What I
Right.
don't like is when the entire story is already planned out, and they're like, "Here's this one piece of it," even though we can tell you the entire story right now. It's like that kind of it comes across as disingenuous. And I really was. I thought that they could have done Destiny very differently. I thought they could have started off and just done Earth and then unlocked worlds as they went, as they wanted to expand the story, which would have been great. But it seemed like each planet, the story was like, what, 3, 4 missions long? It was pretty short lived.
In the initial, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
in the initial one. And I thought that they could have, there was just such a big opportunity for that to build those worlds. And I don't want to say half assed it, it just kind of, it felt like they half assed it.
Right.
Well,
But
yeah, I agree. Like what you said about how quick the story was. It really felt, and to me, especially in Destiny 2, it felt like they rushed you to the end game because that's
yep.
what that game was about. It's to get you to that grind, and including whereas Will, I agree. Like I thought the story was great for the most part, but in that vanilla Destiny 2 Red War chapter,
Uh-huh.
whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, yeah.
it felt like they could have done a better job of telling the story of you getting your powers back. I felt like they took them away immediately, and you
They
are
give you, yeah,
rushed
like
to get
2
them back.
hours. 2 hours later, you've got them back. Yeah, yeah.
If 2 hours, maybe,
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's been several years since I played
yeah,
that,
same,
and I can't do
yeah,
it now. Haha. But
And that was my
yeah,
I'm kind of with him in that particular complaint. It feels very rushed to the end that game. Now that's all let's say.
But
I've spent a lot of time in it. I really enjoyed it.
that's a really regular trope with stories, though, isn't it? You come into like the second chapter or something, or the second season, or the second movie, and what do you say? We're going to add a new character, or we're going to take away somebody's powers. That's really the core of like a
Oh
ton
well,
of comic book movies.
and especially just
Yeah,
video games
Sam,
in general.
yeah,
Part 2 is like you
oh
have to
yeah,
reset. Think
yeah,
about
yeah. You
I always think
reset
about
everything.
Metroid. They always have to reset her to, Samus back to a
Well,
2-0.
base.
Yeah,
it's the only way that you can actually get the world to be as powerful as she is.
Yeah.
And in the same sense, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, right? Spider-Man loses his powers.
right.
That happens. That's a very big trope in a lot of different movies, and trilogies, sequels, series. That kind of stuff is to me. I think it's a big storytelling cop out in gaming and in general. It's a huge cop out to basically say, oh, we're just going to take away their powers, so now they have to regain them. So we can do like almost the origin story again, but without the character building.
Sure. I don't
I'm
know.
okay with it as long as it's like told well. Like I said, my issue is that it's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
fast to getting them back.
could you imagine a game where in the first iteration, like a sequel to a game where in the first iteration of the game you get to have these like godlike tier powers, and then in the second version of the game you lose those powers, but the entirety of the first, let's say 3 months of your playing is you slowly getting those powers back with excellent writing
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
in a well done, well paced story. I mean, you're going to get the grinders who will go through the story in 2 weeks, but for the casual player, having a fun, engaging way to play, because there's more than just those powers. There are as many ways to give abilities to characters as there are people to think up abilities, and there's a lot of those. And it
Well,
doesn't
I
have
guess
to be a power creep thing. It can be lateral powers. It doesn't have to be, you immediately jump back to being a nuclear weapon on wheels.
yeah. No, I was gonna say you could also do like you could also introduce, and that's not changing the style of gameplay, but maybe changing the way that the game is, the way that you play, the tactics you use. Maybe from now on, like because you don't have these powers, you can't do frontal assaults all the time, and now we have to do like we have to do flanking maneuvers and
Introducing a
things like
cover
that.
system to
Yeah,
Destiny.
maybe something. Yeah, something where it makes more sense. You would just. Yeah, I guess that'd be like a really good way to talk about it. Exactly.
Well, I
Introduce
just
something that changes the gameplay, so you
yeah,
don't have to like talk about being a nuclear reactor anymore that's running around blowing up the entire planet. You can
right,
actually just
right,
be this dude who now has to do these things in this other way.
right.
Sun Scorcher
But then
Titan.
Yeah, big time, dude. I mean, that it's so funny that you say that. Like right now, that's the big build
I mean, because it's so good.
in
It's so
Destiny
much
2.
fun.
That's the big build right now.
in, in
Yeah.
Titanfall too.
In Destiny 2, the
Oh,
big so Titan was one of the classes. So there was
yeah, I
Titan
remember
Hunter
the Titan. Yeah,
and yeah, the Titan was supposed to be the tanky,
no, and sorry,
fisticuff dude.
yeah, that was the character that I always played. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you just made me think of. I just thought of Titanfall with the freaking Scorcher. Is when he said Scorcher, I was like,
Oh,
yeah, that was
sure,
the build.
yeah.
That was the easy build. Like you just went around like destroying everything in front
It
of you.
was
That
an
was
easy
fun.
build in Titanfall 2. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to this though. I would agree with that. I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind taking away the powers as long as something else is adjusted. There's a way you have to do things from now on that make you a equal or somehow better combatant in this world. Somehow the world is still high powered, but you're now having to work your way back up to it, and you have to learn new strategies to do it.
Yeah.
And well told stories. I mean, everything that I've read, everything that I've heard about the story of Destiny and the way that it was going to originally work
Oh yeah, that
was so cool. And
And
then
then the
like,
delivery was so not that great.
yeah,
Except
and then
for a
like,
couple of bright spots that they had for some of the expansions that were really freaking good.
well, yeah, but that's just it though. The studio decided that no, we want to go this very other, straightforward, really terrible storytelling fashion. And studio interference, I'm sure, is what actually kind of led to that. Since I think they canned their top writer right before they actually launched.
That I wasn't aware of. But I do know that for Destiny 1, Taken King was just fucking fire. I love that expansion.
That was good.
We played a ton of that together, Steve. I love
Yeah.
that. And then Witch Queen, which is out right now, it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. I played through the first area of it, and I really enjoyed it so far. They're adding new weapons, they're adding new class abilities and features, and there's so much more depth to the game than when I started playing it. That like, I mean, I'm not hooked like the way that Russ is on Hunt. But I am enjoying the crap out of myself, and I look forward to playing with other people in the community, hopefully. But then the second question that kind of comes along with this is, since this is now a kind of a live service style game where they've got the seasons that come out and they have that monetized in terms of season passes. So it's still a free-to-play model, but if you pay for the passes, you get a little bit of an easier time collecting materials and upgrade stuff and new weapons and things like that. You still have access to those through normal gameplay. The timetable that you'll get them in is a little bit longer. And then for the expansions, they still want you to pay for the expansions on the yearly basis. What do you think the monetization for that kind of thing should be if you put forward a large sum of money early on to play? Because it wasn't a free-to-play game when they first launched. It was a $60 AAA priced game. What kind of monetization do you think is an appropriate one? Because if it meant that I got access to things like Season Pass and to expansions, and I was able to get some of the vaulted material as well, that's something I might be willing to pay a subscription fee to.
Oh,
Steve,
absolutely.
what do you think?
Absolutely. Like, I think it depends on what they give you. And a good example of this is thinking back to, I guess it would have been Destiny 1. What was it? The House of Wolves expansion?
Yeah.
Was tiny, and if I'm not mistaken, they charged you like full price for that expansion.
Yeah.
And it was nothing, and that it feels bad, especially compared
feels
to...
bad, man.
It does. It feels bad, right? Like, you don't want... I want to play this game. I'm invested in this game. I'm willing to pay for the, for the expansion, stuff like that. But I definitely personally expect them to be on par with each other, right? Like,
yeah.
If I'm shelling out the whatever it is for an expansion,
so it was $35 for House of Wolves.
House of Wolves, and what was it for? What was it for the Taken King?
Hold on, that's a good question. Because Taken King was
great.
Yeah,
I'm willing to
great.
pay a little bit more for that. I thought I remember them being close in price. Maybe I'm wrong.
$40, so it was a little bit more.
So, but not much,
but
right?
Not by much, yeah.
And that's kind of
$5 is not the difference in content quality.
Exactly. Like, House of Wolves should have been like $20.
Yeah.
I could see a $20 difference in those expansions. So that's my complaint as far as that goes. I'm okay with paying the money. I'm okay with paying for the expansions. I'm invested in it. I'm a dummy like everybody else. Here, take my money. But make it worth it for me.
Yeah.
Don't. And I felt that way. There was like some of the seasons, right, that you could pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they've changed their structure. I haven't played Destiny in a while now. I'll probably get back into it because of you. But I can't even remember the last. Trying to think of the name of the last expansion. At any rate, though, when they do the seasons, right, every now and again I would spring for one, and sometimes they were terrible.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes those updates were, here's this mission that you have to run over and over and over, because of course you do. Like, that's what this game is, and you can get this one exotic. Was that worth it?
Yeah. Was the one exotic worth it? Because I'm not so certain.
I don't feel like it was. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Ticky, any thoughts on the monetization part of it? Is there ever a game in this vein that you think that you'd be interested in paying on an annual basis for a single expansion, or if you had like a subscription model, is that something you'd ever like that you could cancel on a monthly basis? But yeah, is there anything like that you'd be?
Well, it sounds like MMOs, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, there are other games that I feel that way about. And I by the way, I don't think that so I'm being totally transparent here. I to me it isn't a game; it would be a studio that I would actually probably have more faith in.
Okay.
So like the guys who make the Witcher series, I think they've done a phenomenal job. I'd be okay with if they were like, hey, we're gonna move to a monthly subscription and we're gonna have these expansions on these dates, for everyone. I'd be like, oh yeah, sure.
Even with Cyberpunk 2077's failures.
Yeah, because The Witcher.
Okay.
That'd be the game that I'd focus on.
Okay.
Yeah, Cyberpunk's a different story altogether. I agree with that, but I think that the studio, as long as they don't have too many stinkers, or as long as they've got something really good to offer, I'd be okay with that. I just can't think of too many that I like these days, and I'm very happy with right now.
Oh, sure,
There's
sure.
a lot of smaller studios that are coming out with some different ideas and some newer concepts that I think could be interesting. But yeah, I think that's what it would really be for me would be that studio plus the quality of the content that they're introducing.
Yeah,
that would be that would be the determining factor.
Okay, so your dollar is up for grabs. They just need to be. You're a little bit more cautious. You want a proven track record, and then new concepts that are going to be interesting, novel, and fun to play. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, you can win me over with proven content with a proven track record. It's like the analogy when I was buying books earlier, talking about buying books. It's like you read Stephen King, you read like a bunch of it's like early classic stuff, and you're like, wow. And then like Stephen King publishes a new book, and you're like, this is awesome. And then the Dark Tower series comes out, and you're like, wow, that took forever, and it was terrible. So it's not always going to be perfect. But
I like the first three.
The Dark Tower series, yeah, I like the first.
Actually, no, I like the first four. The first four were good. Wolves of Kala lost me though.
Yeah, the Seven Samurai. When it became pretty obvious that Stephen King was like basically flipping through, Amazon looking for ideas.
Yeah.
Like movies. Like, oh, we go, hey, The Shining. Who wrote that?
Yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, I think that's kind of where it comes from with me. Is there's like proven quality track records, and then there's just kind of maybe continued innovation and design, and I can get on board with different models.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't always have to be in an abusive relationship with Hunt.
I'm waiting for a proven track record.
I'm just so mad right now.
All right. Next week on the show, we're going to have Ticky talking about the new Dune MMO. I'm really excited about that. He's excited about that, and that gives me a giant space worm in my pants.
There you go.
A giant spice-spitting space worm. So yeah, join us next week. Steve and Ticky and I all being goofs on them internets. Like every episode of the Save vs. Poison podcast, we like to shout out to the mutual support groups we hope you turn to in your times of need. Alcoholics Anonymous, AA.org, 212-870-3400. Moderation Management, moderation.org, 212-871-0974. Secular AA, SOS, sobriety.org, 323-693-1633. Smart Recovery, that's smartrecovery.org, 440-951-5357. And Women for Sobriety, womenforsobriety.org, 215-536-8026. And for family and friends of addicts and alcoholics that need some support in a group-type environment, there's Al-Anon Family Groups. That's www.al-anon.alateen.org, 1-888-425-2666. From all of us here at the Save vs. Poison podcast, I'm Will.
I'm Ticky.
I'm Steve.
And we wish you warm, creamy regards. Good night, everybody.
Be a Kool-Aid flavored spicy space worm.
My nightmares. You've just listened to another episode of the Save vs. Poison podcast. If you liked what you heard, please follow us, like, and subscribe on Twitter at @VS_save, on Facebook at the Save vs. Poison podcast, and streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/SvP podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe, everyone.